Blog Talk Radio.
Across the country and around the world, streaming live on the internet, it's Real Estate Coaching Radio, bringing you the latest news, interviews, and secrets of the top producers. Hosted by award-winning real estate coaches, Tim and Julie Harris.
And we are back, and we are your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris. We're broadcasting live from lovely Austin, Texas. And Julie, welcome back to the radio show.
Thank you so much. It's been an exciting day, and I'm always glad to be here.
It has been an exciting day, hasn't it? I mean, we've had a great day of coaching calls, great feedback from all of our coaches. And I have to say, Julie, people are really excited, nervous, wanting more information about this Zillow Trulia merger. So we talked about that yesterday. If you missed yesterday's radio show, just go back and listen to a replay. And since yesterday, there's been so much information that's come out, and I have been reading constantly and have learned a lot of things that I'm going to share with you guys over the next day or so. And tomorrow, we're going to have a guest on the radio show, and he is somebody also who has an interesting take on the relevance of the Zillow and Trulia merger to your individual real estate practice. So assuming we can get that guest lined up, I won't even say his name until he confirms. But once he does confirm, then it's top secret. That's right. So you know what? It is also interesting. I've been kind of paying attention to see how other real estate coaches are reacting to this news. And, a lot of them are saying, hey, agents, don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it. It doesn't really have anything to do with you. And the fact is that's just horrible advice because it has everything to do with you. If you don't know what's going on at the very top levels of your real estate business, if you don't know what's happening to how your buyers and sellers are thinking and how they're deciding who they're going to do business with, as in you or somebody else, then you're going to lose control of your business. This is relevant to you because this is the very lifeblood of your business. Your business is dependent on leads. And if you're going to be forced to buy leads in order to survive, if you're going to essentially lose control over a great deal of the best buyer and seller leads, which is the direction this could go, and we're going to talk about that in today's radio show, how this, Zillow and Trulia have all been about buying buyer leads for the most part, Zillow more than Trulia. Well, guess what? Now they're going to start wanting to get in on the listing side of things. And I'm going to tell you my theory about what's going to be, what frankly is hiding in the tall weeds that's going to probably be rolled out in the next year or less. So I'm going to kind of lay out the worst case scenario. And unfortunately, I'm usually pretty accurate, all ego aside, about expecting, about knowing what's going to happen next. And after I lay it out to you guys, after I give you the details, it's kind of obvious. So you don't have to be some sort of, crystal ball prognosticator to know what's coming next. So here's what matters most. Pay attention to this, guys, especially if you're a listing agent, because it does matter. There's an excellent chance that if Zillow and Trulia can start getting in on the listing end of things, we will lose control of the business. If they basically are able to establish themselves as a permanent fixture between us and the clients that we choose to do business with, our buyers and sellers, well, guess what? You are not going to have a very viable business. In other words, you're going to lose profitability almost to the point where you're in essence going to be an employee of Zillow. That is kind of like a doom and gloom type scenario, but it'll happen. And I'm going to give you guys an example right now before we get to the content that I prepared for you. So I remember very clearly when Julie and I sold real estate. And Julie, you have these, I'm sure memories as well. When we would get a call from a past client who had a house to sell, and I remember the first time this happened. So Julie and I were RE/MAX agents at the time. And we get a call, hey, Tim and Julie, listen, I was going to have you guys out to list my house, but my relocation company told me that I have to list with this, and at the time it was Precedent real estate agent. So in other words, you guys, in case you don't know, I'll kind of walk you through it. The Human Resources Department has contracted with Precedent Mobility, and I know this has all changed names and ownership has changed and all that, but you guys will get the gist of it. So someone working at ABC Corporation, basically their Human Resources Department's in charge of overseeing their transfer, say, from Columbus, Ohio to Atlanta, right? And so what will happen is that Human Resources Department working with this relocation company, which in the case what we dealt with constantly with, Precedent, NRT, well, they would then strong-arm that seller into believing that they weren't going to get their relocation benefits unless they worked with the realtor that the relocation company was assigning to that seller. You guys follow me on that? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this again. Seller wants to list with Tim and Julie. Seller is being told, don't list with Tim and Julie, list with this other agent because they are part of our relocation network. Now, how does it work on the other side of it? That relocation agent is generally speaking paying, ready for it? A lot of you guys already know this, 40% referral fee before their broker splits. And you guys know in many cases the agents that are taking those leads like that are on the most advantageous to the broker split. So they might just be a 70-30 agent or an 80-20 agent. So they're paying 50, 60, 70% of the commission just to get that listing lead handed to them. You guys following me on where this business could be headed? Are you seeing that there is an absolute historic precedent for this type of thing happening on the listing into the business? Can you guys imagine that this will happen if we stand by and allow these interlopers to further enter into our industry? So, of course, that's what's going to happen. So here's my theory. I was going to save this for the second half of the call, but I'm just going to give it to you now. My theory is this. A lot of the people that had their hand in on housevalues.com and these other companies, which were innovative, great companies at the time, they were, and again, I want to make it very clear. I admire the guys at Zillow. Honestly, I admire the guys at Trulia. Peter Flint and his group, they put together an incredible company. And Move.com, they were able to deliver a product to the marketplace that consumers want. Zillow, out of nowhere, basically, would 7 years, 7, 8 years now? They've been able to establish themselves in a dominant position, and it's arguable whether this is true or not, but even in front of the long-established National Association of Realtors and Realtor brand. So if you were to poll consumers, it's something like there's a 10% brand recognition for Zillow. But when you ask people, like our neighbor, he came over yesterday and asked us to help him establish the value on his house. He doesn't quite understand that we coach realtors and we don't sell real estate, but that's okay. We're going to help him anyway. And he was telling me about his Z estimate. So what's happened is that we, as an industry, and our leadership in National Association of Realtors and Move.com have waited too long, and as there is to basically, essentially do something about these third-party companies have come into our industry, and they now are establishing a stronghold in the minds of potential buyers and sellers to the point where it's very reasonable to expect that your past client, just like what happened with Julie and I in that relocation company, is going to come in contact with Zillow first. And maybe Zillow will, I don't know what the incentive will be to use a Zillow-approved agent, but there'll be some sort of incentive. Who knows what, right? Free loans or free who knows what. They'll do all kinds of different things. Some of you guys have gotten relocation or have gotten referral business from Costco. How does that work? Someone chooses to work with a realtor that's referred to them from Costco, and they get a free Costco card for $500, right? In exchange for that, the realtor pays a fat referral fee. Some of you guys work with Dave Ramsey. Now, I love the way Dave Ramsey runs his his referral business. It's fantastic. It's pure and it's honest. 25% referral fee. Here's the listing lead. But the way these other companies are doing it essentially is they're essentially farming your past clients, the folks that would have come to you anyway, and then they're making you pay a fee for that business. That is what's going to happen. And how much are you going to ask me? You're going to ask me, right? How much are we expecting the fee to be? Here's what I suspect they're going to do. They're going to sell refer the leads to you guys for 40%. 40%. And I suspect that they'll have a lead scoring system in place, and they'll also have a scoring system in place for you. So if they send you, 3 leads and you only are able to convert 1, and yet they sent another 3 leads to somebody else and they were able to convert all 3 to listings, well, then the other agent who basically is able to convert more listings to actual business is going to continue to get the referrals where you're not. Okay? That's how it's going to evolve if we allow it to happen. Julie, any thoughts? Will I take a breath?
Yeah, well, sit there and do nothing and see how it goes. Agents like to complain about these exorbitant referral fees and, oh, my gosh, how are we going to deal with this and deal with that? But what are we all really doing about it to prevent that? So sitting there and not doing anything and believing anybody who tells you, don't worry about it, just get on with your business. I mean, it was one thing when there weren't any Zillows and Trulias around and it was just the occasional relocation company that would get into your pocket. But now this is becoming much more prevalent. I mean, how many of you guys have gone to a listing presentation just for the seller to say, hey, but my Z-estimate or Zestimate, whatever we're calling it, is this? And, you had to deal with that. You had to talk about what's actual realistic pricing. And you're right, our own neighbor brought it up yesterday. So this is out there, and to ignore it makes, it's really malpractice not to know about this stuff.
Some of you guys don't know how to sell around Zillow. You don't know how to sell your sellers on the fact that the estimates are garbanzo beans in many cases. So let me give you an example. Mr. Seller, here's the problem with putting your listing on Zillow and the Z estimates and whatnot. So we have your house listed, Mr. Seller, for $699. It's priced correctly, and yet Zillow says your house should be worth $629. Your prospective buyers now, who would have otherwise been happy to pay $699, are on Zillow, and they're now deciding that, well, it must be worth $629 and not $699. So it's adding a layer of confusion to the marketplace. And, Zillow and there's the estimate, you guys have talked about that infinitesimally, and everybody has an opinion on it. And I think, it's an interesting tool to be sure. And if you're in a place where there's lots of condos, same square footage and whatnot, generally speaking, they're pretty dang accurate. That's the truth. But in most places in the country where every house is different, so what do you do then? How do you sell your seller on the idea of not participating on Zillow? Well, here's another thing. There's been lots of theories that, the Zillow executives have even come out and said this. How, as an agent, does an agent explain to a seller why their house isn't on Zillow? They've arrogantly come out and said that. They've even gone as far as to say, I want to hear what a listing agent, how they can legitimately explain to a seller why their house isn't on Zillow. Well, I'll explain it to you. Here's the simple fact. What advantage is it, Mr. Seller, to having your house on Zillow? Can you explain it to me? Well, it's more exposure. Okay, that's fine. That is the theory, and that is, what the working idea has been. But if, Mr. Seller, would it surprise you if I were to show you, to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt, that more exposure doesn't actually increase the value of your house? And in some cases, it actually decreases the value of your house. Can I explain why? Uh-oh, see what we're getting at here, guys? Objection handlers, pay attention. So, Mr. Seller, let me show you, and then I want you to show them a picture, maybe a printed out page from Zillow, where you're showing them the listing, and then right next to the listing, you're showing them the 4 or 5 different pictures of the agents who have paid to be next to that listing. And let's be honest, aren't they really trying to act like it's their listing? Isn't Zillow just sort of kind of in the gray area? They're sort of kind of just inferring that is the listing agent for the property. Come on, let's be honest. That is obviously what's going on. So then the question then becomes, Mr. Seller, here's a thought for you. That's your house. These are the 4 agents that are featured next to your listing. Your prospective buyer thinks that agent right there in the number 1 position must be the listing agent. They call that agent. That agent not only doesn't know anything about your house, of course they don't, they're not the listing agent, I am, but in addition to that, they have a house down the way. So they're going to not tell them about your listing in a favorable light, but doesn't it make sense that they're going to paint the other house in a more favorable light and then ultimately take them and maybe possibly show your prospective buyer their listing? Get it, guys? That's what happens every single day when you allow your listings and you allow your work product, your descriptions, your pictures, your virtual tours to be exploited. Now, I've got something even more salacious for all of you, if that wasn't enough for you to consider. Okay, so we know what? More exposure, more syndication does not really, at the end of the day, do any benefits for the seller. It doesn't. It doesn't increase the price. It doesn't decrease the days on the market. And if anything, it actually creates more confusion in the marketplace for the reasons I just stated. All right, now, I want you guys, on this description, I don't know if you're listening to this radio show off an email or whatnot, but there's a link in the description, and it is a research paper that just came out this morning from a company called Citron Research. Now, Citron's a short seller. What does a short seller do? They literally place bets on the decline of a company's stock. They make money if a company's stock goes down. So Citron Research, let's put it all out there, is betting and is doing something to try to make their bet be true, writing salacious reports on Zillow, for example. They're betting that Zillow stock is going to go down. So let's just look at this. These guys do have a dog in the fight. But with that said, they have some research here that I had not heard, and I'm going to kind of expose this right now to all of our listeners. And I want you guys to read this report yourself and then go to Google and then put in Citron Research, Zillow, and see what else you find. Okay, here's the bottom line. Let me find this so I can read it to you guys exactly. And I'm reading this right from the Citron Research report, okay? Okay, the stock market, well, I'm not going to read you guys about the stock market stuff. You don't care. Citron Research now exposes the big lie that has never been discussed by any other sell-side analyst, mainstream media pundit, and most importantly, never disclosed by Zillow or Trulia. Pretty salacious, right? Zillow and Trulia already have in place a rock-bottom deal with Realogy, the largest real estate agency in the world, that prohibits all other agents from advertising on their listings. Remember in my description I said that there would be your listing in 4 different pictures? Not if you're a Realogy agent and you participate in this program. It's your listing and your picture. And they pay a fee that is 95% less than the other agency pays. Keller Williams agents, RE/MAX agents, all you guys that are paying these ridiculous fees to Zillow, Realogy has cut a side deal. Why don't you have a side deal like that? Not only is this deal unsustainable in the industry, we're not at all sure if it's even legal from an antitrust perspective, but incredibly it falls to Citron to publish the documents that no one from either Zillow or Trulia has ever shown to Wall Street. The deal spans all Realogy agencies. Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, ERA, Century 21, and Better Homes and Gardens. We published a copy directly from Coldwell Banker. Below is the pricing for the 175,000 Realogy agents who are dominant force in the industry. Not only amazing, it has never been disclosed, and it already covers exclusive agent status on both Zillow and Trulia, most notably with regard to to excluding other brokers' ads from Realogy listings. Indicted by their own words, competitors can't touch this offer. Really? Anybody heard of Chapter 1 of the Antitrust Competitive Practices and Antitrust Laws? Okay, you guys can get into the bureaucracy and all this, but I'm only focusing on how it relates to agents. Here's the bottom line. Competitors can't touch this. This is evidently a flyer right from Realogy to their agents. The combined agent branding power of the Fab Plus featured agent branding program, which I guess is the brand name of this internal program, retails from $2,100 to over $23,000 depending on the number of annual listings. So stay with me here, guys. If you have 0 to 3 listings, you will be spending on average, if you're not a Realogy agent, $2,168 to have exposure on Realtor.com, Homes.com, Trulia.com, and Zillow.com. If you're a Coldwell Banker agent, it's $175. So what did I just say? Download the report, read it yourself. The program is provided to Coldwell Banker NRT agents for this early bird price of $175 for the entire year for agent branding. Now, if you have, like you're one of our normal coaching clients, get this. So you're a normal coaching client. You have between 76 and 100 listings. You know, our personal coaching clients carry a lot of listings. You're going to pay an average to expose those listings with you in the dominant position on Realtor.com, $3,475 a year. Homes.com, $839 a year. Trulia.com, $7,980 a year. Zillow.com, $10,788 a year. In other words, if you're not an NRT agent, you're going to pay $23,000 a year. An NRT agent pays $175. Take a breath. Think about that.
Small difference.
Yeah,
crazy.
Think about that, guys. So that means, and actually the second part of this I'm going to talk to you guys about after our quick commercial break. But the second part of this is really interesting. It talks about lead quality. But what I want you to take away from and chew on during this commercial break is the simple fact that if you are a Coldwell Banker agent, you're paying $175 for what any other agent and any other broker is probably paying $10,000 to $15,000 a year, and that's a year. $175. A year, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. Does that even make sense to you? Of course it doesn't. So if I'm at RE/MAX, Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway, Realty Executives, Exit Realty, Weichert, Long & Foster, Windermere, Howard Hanna, if I'm at any of those companies, I'm going to go to my broker and I'm going to say, why the hell am I paying so much more than my competitor is at Realogy? How does that make sense? I know how it makes sense because RE/MAX, Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway, Realty Executives, Exit Realty, Weichert, Long & Foster, Windermere, Howard Hanna, and all the others don't know about that special deal until today. What happens to Zillow and Trulia if all of a sudden all of you listening now and in replay demand that you get the same deal? And why wouldn't you? Hey, guess what? Brokers listening, national franchise executives listening, your agents are going to hear this, and they're going to ask why NRT has got a special deal, and you have not cut a special deal like that. So keep that in mind. When we come back from our quick commercial break, we're going to talk about lead quality.
According to the National Association of Realtors, only 10% of agents complete an amazing 90% of all transactions because they have a coach. If you want the production and performance that comes with being a top producer, then you need one too. Not just any coach, but the leaders in coaching today, Tim and Julie Harris. Don't just take our word for it. Listen to what HGTV star and Atlanta top producer Colette McDonald has to say.
Hi, my name is Colette McDonald, and I'm with RE/MAX in Atlanta, Georgia. I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to Tim and Julie Harris. I've been a coaching client of theirs for the last 4 years. When I first started in this business 12 years ago, I was very successful, did a great amount of business, averaged between $8 and $10 million a year. When I contracted with Tim and Julie to be my graduate level coaches, my production increased by 20% per year. I am now trending $30 million this year. That's amazing results over 4 years of working with Tim and Julie Harris. I highly recommend them. Tiger Woods has a coach. And why does he have a coach? Because he can't see his swing. If you do what they tell you to, you will see huge results. I am living proof.
Only Tim and Julie Harris provide powerful one-on-one coaching along with all the lead generation systems, scripts, presentations, team building, and business planning tools you need to dominate your real estate market. We offer affordable pricing with no long-term contracts, and our entire coaching staff are trained professional agents with top producing track records. Take action now and visit us online at freecoachingcallsforagents.com to schedule your free coaching call. There's no risk, no obligation, just a free, personal, one-on-one call with a trained professional coach. Join the elite 10% of agents who make all the difference in today's market. Visit freecoachingcallsforagents.com to get started. Again, that's freecoachingcallsforagents.com.
Okay, now we're going to talk about leads, and we're going to talk about lead quality. But before we get to that, I'm going to read a little bit more from the Citron Research paper. The Realogy marketing deal was done to purposely afford Realogy an unfair advantage over their competitors by blocking all competing agent ads, obviously on Zillow, on listings generated by Realogy agents. More importantly, this agreement eliminates over 20% of all Zillow Trulia inventory in exchange for a minimal amount of money. Remember, this was written for people on Wall Street. Let me cut to the actual stuff that I thought was also interesting here. Again, the fact is that now that you guys know that there's special deals that are happening on the very top level, as agents, you should be raising eyebrows and saying, why am I paying so much for these leads? And by the way, what's happening to the actual quality of the leads? So let's get to that. And I'm going to try to summarize this as most efficiently as I can in the time we have remaining today. So here we go. So to put the Internet into perspective, in 2013, NRT received 1.5 million leads from its real estate Internet websites. Interestingly, 30% of these leads NRT's local operating company websites, and the remainder come from the 700-plus real estate-related websites which we participate in. NRT's real estate websites not only generated the greatest amount of leads, but they also created the highest quality of leads. The quality of the leads from Realogy's internal websites is nearly 250% better than outside non-Realogy franchise group branded Internet sources. So what is that saying? That Realogy knows that the quality and the volume of the leads that they get to their own internal websites is vastly better than the ones that they're, say, getting from Zillow or Trulia. And haven't you discovered the same thing in your own real estate business? I was on a coaching call earlier today with an agent that does fantastic business off his website, and he has been for maybe 3 or 4 years spending something like $3,000 to $5,000 a month with Zillow, Trulia, and whatnot, buying buyer leads for his buyer agent staff. He told me about a year ago he noticed that the quality of the leads started to decrease dramatically. And why? Because what's happened is in order for Zillow and Trulia and these other companies to grow, they've had to obviously have more subscribers, but they're not increasing dramatically the number of leads, which means they have to then have essentially they need to dilute the number of leads that they're selling. In other words, the quality of the lead is degrading, and yet you guys are paying more. Ask yourself, those of you who are buying buyer leads, even if you've had some closings from these leads, how much are you paying per lead? Are you noticing that what you're paying is increasing, all the while the quality and the quantity of the leads that you're getting is decreasing? In some cases, some of you guys are getting more leads that you're paying for, but what's happening to the quality of the leads? So here's an interesting thing from this report. Compared to all other sources, Realogy's internally generated leads, and these are 2 points, are growing 75% faster and a result of nearly 280% superior conversion rate. So in other words, their internal leads, and the same will be true for you, your internal leads are more powerful. From these numbers, we can easily conclude that Realogy knew that they were what they were doing when they cut the deal, and even if in years to come Zillow and Trulia wanted to raise prices, the nuclear option is always Realogy's to commit. And what is that? Despite Realogy already having a deal to block all competing agent ads on all listings for an undisclosed small sum, they are still moving aggressively towards compete directly, going head-to-head against Zillow and Trulia, which should make Zillow and Trulia concerned about the nuclear option despite the rock-bottom pricing. So what this guy is speculating, remember he's a short seller and he's intentionally trying to make Zillow's stock go down. So remember, keep that in mind. He's painting like your worst case. But I'm learning some things, aren't you? So Realogy is already preparing for a black swan price increase by building a robust real estate portal of their own. So in other words, Realogy is going to basically break away, hypothetically, from Realtor.com, from Zillow, from Trulia, and they're going to start their own portal. Now, I've been reading about this other portal idea that I know that they're working on. It's just a fact. And the fact is, I'll read this to you. This is a quote from their president and CEO. This is from NRT, president and CEO. I'll just cut to it. We believe there's space in there that we can compete in. In other words, the online internet portal space. It will have features like Zillow and Trulia. It will have features that you wouldn't put on real estate brokers' websites. An example would be the estimate that Zillow uses. There are certain features that we believe we can effectively do and be able to cast a net outcome, a consumer-oriented facing website arena that's able to capture leads, reviewing, scrub them, cultivate leads, as I described, and put them in the hands of our sales associates so we can create the business opportunity. And then he goes on to say, it's not going to be an Idecs. It won't be fully Idecs site, meaning that we will have all our competitors' listings. It will be a fully Idecs site. So in other words, they're going to have all their competitors' websites on there too. We'll be a separate brokerage company within the jurisdiction of NRT. Again, this is getting into the semantics, and you guys can read the report. So where is this all going to go, and how does this relate to you guys, and what do you need to be mindful of? As we have been doing our best to warn all of you about for now, over a year, buying buyer leads is not going to work. That is not a sustainable business practice. You guys know it. Your rates are going up. Your quality of your leads is going down. And, the fact is that you need to learn how to generate your own business. The longer you stay a real estate agent not knowing how to generate your business, the less profitable your business will be, to the point literally you could start running a negative operating margin. In other words, you're going to have to pay to be in business. You're not making any profit. Julie, does this resonate with our listeners, or do you think this is a little bit too weird?
No, I know that whether they admit it or not, most of them are paying one of these companies anywhere from, hundreds to on up close to 1,000. And it's, of course, going up. I've already had reports from my clients. One of them had their bill triple on their renewal date. So it's happening. And why in the world would agents pay for leads? Because they're not generating them on their own for some reason. So that's the deficit in skill that has to be worked on.
Okay, so you guys are, let's say you are not listening to us, and you're saying, Tim and Julie, you're just you guys are way too far out there, whatever you're telling yourself. Or maybe you're listening to, another coach that's saying, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just focus on your own business. This doesn't have anything to do with you. Okay, but you're buying buyer leads, and maybe you're going to, succumb to buying seller leads, and then all of a sudden, why do people go to Realtor.com? Why do consumers go to Zillow? Why do consumers go to Trulia? What do they go there for? They go there for listings. Now, what if NRT, who has a ton of listings, and let's say RE/MAX, and, they're as entrepreneurial can be, same with Keller Williams, what if they all decided to basically get together and no longer syndicate any of their listings except on their own internally controlled portal? We're not going to give you our listings anymore. Agents are tired of being ripped off by you guys. We're going to be putting all of our listings on our own website, and listing agents are going to get their own leads. No more paying for all this crap. No more having to, succumb to all the pestering telemarketing calls. No more worrying about rate increases on your, get it? What happens then to Zillow and Trulia? What happens most importantly, and what I care about, and what Julie cares about, to you guys who have become dependent on buying your business from those companies if all of a sudden they don't have the very thing that they need to get eyeballs on their websites, the listings? What happens then? What happens to you? Your business isn't going to survive. That is going to happen. That is happening now. You're going to see everything that we just described to you happen in the next 6 to 12 months. It'll happen nice and subtly. The NRT people, class people, they know what they're doing. They're going to roll it out maybe regionally first. They're going to get the kinks worked out, then nationally. Then they're going to start advertising it. And then the folks looking for homes are going to realize, well, half the houses for sale in my marketplace aren't going to be on, Realtor.com, hypothetically, though I'm an advocate of Realtor.com, but they aren't on Zillow or Trulia anymore. So I'm going to go to this new website. That's it. End of story, right? Isn't that all it takes? Do you think consumers are loyal to Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com? Do you think they love those sites? No, they go there because they want to look at listing data. If the listing data isn't there anymore, because what happens, it happens, and it actually, they successfully launched this new company, which I'm sure that they will. They have the money to do it. They have the desire to do it. They have the listings to do it. They have the incentive to do it. They're going to do it. Then what happens to your company, your business, your livelihood, if you've basically been one of these agents that have succumbed to the idea that you have to buy your business? You are done. I am living in fear for those of you who are not willing to hear this message, because you are choosing, if you're listening to what we're saying right now, and you're not willing to take action on it, if you're not willing to learn how to generate your own leads, request a free coaching call. We'll help you. freecoachingcallsforagents.com. Listen to what we're saying, because it is going to happen. And when it does happen, you can't say you were surprised that it happened. What if you knew back in, say, 2006 and 2007 that the real estate bubble would pop? What would you have done differently then? Well, there's another bubble that's about to pop. It's called the buying buyer leads bubble, about to pop. You have been warned. What are you going to do about it? Anything else you'd like to say, Jules?
Take action now.
That's it, right? So, guys, assuming we can get our special guest on the radio show tomorrow, we're going to continue this topic because I know it's on the forefront of everyone's mind in our industry, as it should be. So we'll share with you. I think he has got again, if we can get him booked, he'll be a fantastic guest for tomorrow, because he really digs in from a high-level broker's perspective on really how this affects your guys' business. The same, obviously, he's in the same wheelhouse as we are. Listen tomorrow. Please do everything in your power. Send this radio show out to as many agents as you want. We need to, as an industry, get our collective heads out of our collective you-know-whats so that we can actually get back in control of our industry. Otherwise, we're going to be like the travel agents. Otherwise, we're going to be out of business effectively by choice. So I want you to consider that. In the meantime, we'll talk with you on the radio tomorrow. If there's anything we can do for you, freecoachingcallsforagents.com.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows. And until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.